welcome to Telling the Tale. It's the podcast where we're going to play through every single Telltale episodic and non-episodic on occasion, but we're going to stick to the episodes this time. Video game. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley Wolf. I am the video games one. I'm here with the cartoon boy, Dustin Jackson.
It is I, the cartoon boy. Watch my merry jig.
I'm watching. Ooh! He did that thing where he grabbed his ankle with one arm and then jumped through his other leg with the hoop of his arm and leg. You know that one? I just saw him do it.
That took a little bit to get right.
Yeah. Ooh, you ripped your pants doing that?
Yeah, but it's okay. This is an audio program.
Okay, well, now he's just walking back to his... He looks really ashamed. Uh-oh.
Yeah, if I had known this was going to happen, I would have worn underwear today.
Putting on a really brave, jokey kind of voice, but I can tell in his eyes that he's not having fun right now.
You can see the tears welling up.
Yeah, well, damn, Dustin. Sorry for your everything. This is
That's
The
okay.
Walking Dead Michonne Episode 2, Give No Shelter. It was released on March 29th, 2016. Written by Zach Keller and Andrew Hansen. Directed by Sean Manning. Designed by John Burnhelm and Mickey Lynn. None of those names were the same names as episode 1. So we're really, at least in terms of team leadership episode per episode, we have like a completely different cast of people. I'm sure there's some season-wide people that are like above it all watching the whole thing to come together, but
right.
all the episode people are different. That's interesting. Is that usually what we see?
I'm not sure. I mean, kind of. I don't know if that's been the case for, like, Walking Dead before this, but I know, like, with Sam and Max episodes and, like, Strong Bad, we'd have different people on different episodes.
Well, with Sam and Max, what I remember, especially in the first 2 seasons, I don't really remember for Devil's Playhouse as much. It was like the team started with maybe 3 writers on the first episode, and then they just kept adding them as they went through episodes. They didn't really take them away. It was like a snowball collecting Northern Californian writers.
Right, but this time we just have all these new people, all these new names.
All these new names. All of them were probably living in a house or apartment in Southern California, which is all I can think about when anything happens nowadays, because I've been trying to do that and it's so hard. And if you've been following my Twitter, I've put some updates about that, but I unfortunately cannot get a place to rent. I'm working on it. I want to give them my money so bad. I don't know what's happening.
I have the money for you all. Let me give it to you. Why are you playing so hard to get?
Well, in a lot of cases, I don't have as much money as they're asking for, but I could have pretty close, and in a lot of cases, the exact amount they're asking for. But it turns out that they're fake, or that they don't want to do it right now, or someone else has just got it, or it's tough.
I'm not really feeling it today.
Yeah, I'm waiting for another economy crash on the housing market so I can get them at a discount.
Then just collect them all.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people from a lot of stories from people maybe our age or maybe a little bit older who are occasionally they'll say things like, "Oh yeah, this house, yeah, I bought it when it was on sale back in 08 or 09." And they got a pretty good deal for that, and then they just never moved again, because if they moved again, they would pay millions more than what they paid at the time.
Right.
And I was only 14 there, so I missed the boat.
That's true. You know what? Better luck next time.
Yeah, in this next economy crisis, which seems like it might come, I will absolutely be ready. I'm going to buy the cheapest, biggest, stupidest house, and it's going to cost me $5.
Awesome. I cannot wait.
I can't wait for everyone. Oh, they're going to lose their jobs and stuff. It's going to be bad in general.
Yeah, that's true. But you'll get a house.
I'll get it. Yeah, I can live in a place.
Yeah, that'd be great for you.
What did you think of this episode?
So overall I liked it. However, I think it gets a little bit silly towards the end.
Yeah, it does. it does feel like there's 3 very distinct chapters of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving Monroe, we talked last week about how Monroe is this system of boats and docks tied to each other, floating in the middle of a bay, led by a pretty strict community leader or couple of community leaders. So we're escaping there with Pete, Michonne, and Sam. Then we go into the forest, running away from people and running toward Sam's house. And then there's sort of a showdown at Sam's house.
Right, yeah.
And each one of those has a very distinct, very different feel from each other. I felt like that middle period was maybe the strongest, where I was most invested in the characters and what was going on out of everything.
The talking between Michonne and Sam?
Yeah, when I was escaping from Monroe, I was like, kind of just waiting to not be there anymore. But yeah, that bit through the forest, plus a little bit of where they actually get home and talk to Sam's family. That stuff was pretty cool. But then at the very end, you're right, it got pretty silly pretty fast.
Yeah. We'll get to it, but boy, there are some parts right near the end where I'm like, what happened? Am I supposed to take this seriously?
To be clear, I didn't think that... I didn't hate it. I thought that the stuff near the end was fun and kind of a new style of like how bombastic you want Walking Dead to be. But you're right. It was a little bit less grounded than some of the stories we've been seeing up to this point.
Yeah, there's just like 2 specific parts where I'm just kind of like, okay, really, guys? But I enjoyed them because they were so over the top. But it's very weird in a series like this.
Yeah, and like all of a sudden near the end, you get this almost Tarantino, which is, I know that you haven't seen any of the Tarantino movies. It's come up on the podcast before, but just like a sudden and extreme burst of the most cartoonish, over the top blood and gore out of nowhere, sudden discomforting violence all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of stuff with it. It's interesting. It's not like it doesn't feel completely sensationalist or indulgent. I mean, a little indulgent. I guess I shouldn't say it doesn't. But they use the whole animal, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just the 2 parts. I guess we're just talking about the ending right from the get-go, so I'll just get into the 2 parts that I don't want to say rub me the wrong way, but they did kind of take me out a little bit. So the first time is when Michonne is talking to the dad of Sam. I think his name is John.
Sure. I agree to that. I think that might be true.
So he takes her out into the front to talk to her about something. And he opens the gate to throw the walker arm that had broken off earlier out.
Yeah.
And it just seemed so comically timed, the way he says, I don't know what my boys would do without me. And then a second after he says that, he gets a bullet to the face.
Yeah, right to the back of the head. It's one of the more explosive headshots we've seen in this game so far.
Yeah,
which I am to believe is maybe not actually what would really happen, but maybe there's a shot. I don't know. I looked into this for a project, in a game-related project I can't talk about, that is not what I'm currently working on, but what I used to be working on. And if you get shot in the head, let me tell you, it doesn't necessarily explode the whole head most of the time. There's like an entry and exit wound. But, right. At point blank range or with a certain kind of gun, you can obviously explode anything you want.
Anything your heart desires.
Anyway, yeah, that's a tangent. We don't need to talk about head explosion. It made me sad then. It makes me sad now.
Right.
But yeah, John does sort of just lose the entire structural integrity of his skull immediately after saying that.
Yeah, just right after saying, like, what a thing to say right before you die.
So that was the one I knew you were talking about, but you said there's two, and I can't place what you might be talking about for the second one.
So it's when Michonne is fighting off the other guys in Randall's crew.
Yep.
One of them gets stuck in the trap in the front yard, and then Michonne takes the flare gun.
Oh yeah.
And shoots it up into his jaw. So he's just kind of writhing around with the flare in his mouth, waving his hands around. I'm like, what is this? Like the M-rated Home Alone?
Yeah, and like the fire from the flare starts to come out of his eyes and mouth, and he looks demonic. It's
I was half expecting Michonne to say, "Hey, no need to be such a hothead."
Yeah, let's let you cool off.
Like, it would have been so out of character, but in that moment, I was like, I'm not putting it past them.
Yeah, and I think in zombie stories, one of the reasons that you would make a zombie story is to analyze and kind of play around with the presentation of violence in a way that is not immediately disquieting to the viewer, right? You can use aliens, monsters, and I guess zombies would be under monsters in this case, and Nazis in order to kill a bunch of something on screen without it being sad to an audience. That's like the old trick of the trade. Aliens, zombies, or monsters, and Nazis. You're allowed to do that to those people. So for them to go this hard into like people, just people that are trying to, in some cases, like maybe not Randall in this case, maybe he would fall into as hateful as Nazis because we don't like Randall. He's just a really mean, murderous guy. But these other
Randall
two people are just
so
kind of following his directions and maybe working under the assumption that their community is actually in trouble and they need to do this for them.
And they just die. They just straight up die unceremoniously. Michonne stabs one in the head with a knife.
The flare gun in the face is one of the most brutal things I've ever seen in a video game. It's one of the worst deaths, especially in a Telltale video game. And we've seen some messed up, but like kind of trying for realist vibes on in the CSI games.
Mm-hmm. They've always been at least somewhat grounded. Like even if it's still like exaggerated in a way, like nothing up until this point, at least in The Walking Dead, has felt so over the top and cartoony to me.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of maybe the opposite side of the extreme with Borderlands, where people are just dying in very like purposefully comical ways, constantly. And it's kind of the vibe of the universe. You're not supposed to take it seriously. It's a comedy.
Exactly, it's the tone they're going for.
And this is like really strangely in that valley in the middle of those extremes. It feels like it's really going for it, trying to take itself seriously, but also doing the most like just disgustingly over the top, unnecessary death I've ever seen in a video game. And like, there's some messed up stuff in video games. I'm trying to think if there's anything I've seen in a video game that is worse than this, in terms of a graphic death.
In terms of something like you just said about Borderlands. Like, I'm sure Borderlands has. Well, I don't know. I haven't played Borderlands, but.
Well, even in what we saw of Borderlands in the Tales and New Tales, people are getting like blown in half very casually, and then their partners are like, gotta call in reinforcements. Like, that's the vibe of that.
Yeah.
Or remember in episode 5 of Tales from the Borderlands, where Fiona has the option to have all of those Handsome Jack fans try to run into the office.
Yeah.
And then just get diced up immediately by like a force field thing.
I remember. How could I forget?
That's pretty extreme. But this is like slow. And this
Yeah.
this really lets you focus on it and shows it in close up great detail.
They really
Yeah.
like showing close-ups of these guys.
Yeah, like there's tons of extreme death like animations in Tomb Raider, or more recently just in things like Inside or Limbo. It's sad when the kid dies in very gross, painful ways. But this is just so slow and so your fault, and like what the game wanted you to do. I think that it comes across so much stronger. Not stronger in like, oh, I'm glad they did that kind of way. Stronger in a, whoa, you really made a choice. You really made a whole
just
choice
went
here.
for it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it was the right call, but boy, is it memorable. I'm gonna remember it.
Yeah, just like the guy has to wait until the flare completely burns all the way through to die.
Yeah, and like he's already been stabbed, like in the torso by Michonne.
He's having a rough go of it.
She didn't need to fire that flare right into his head and mouth.
Yeah, like you still have the machete. Just keep going with the machete. That was working for you.
Yeah, you stabbed that other guy in the face.
She regularly, like, very cleanly beheads these zombies. I assume that would still work on a living person.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Yeah, good points. Good points all around.
Yeah, they're really the moments that stood out to me the most, even if, like, otherwise I still think this episode was pretty good. I was invested enough. It's just those two parts where I'm like, okay, alright, let's cool it a little bit. Let's back off. Let's think about the way we're doing these deaths.
So
we're Telltale's The Walking Dead, for God's sakes.
I looked on the Wikipedia entry for this series, The Walking Dead Michonne specifically, and I looked at its reception. And people, I think, generally agreed, yeah, it was a pretty good Walking Dead thing, but each episode was so short that they couldn't really get much out of it, and there were only a few of them, so it felt to a lot of reviewers less substantive than previous seasons of The Walking Dead or other Telltale things. Would you agree with that assessment?
I think I do, actually. I was thinking about how, like, last episode just felt like it was just setting things up, and then this episode starts, we're, like, out of there.
Last episode was a little longer than this one. This one was like 1 hour or less, I feel.
Yeah. Michonne was talking to
maybe a little
Sam
more
on their walk, and that was cool. But then you get to her house, and there's no time for any of these characters to sink in. We have the father, the two little brothers, and I assume an older sister, maybe? Because they talk about the mom is dead.
I wasn't sure. I was thinking maybe this
they
is
don't
like
go into it at all.
Like a family friend or like a nanny or a babysitter who was around when the apocalypse happened and just became part of the family unit.
She could literally be anyone.
I said unient.
Unient. That's a good word.
Yeah, it's a
I don't
family,
know what it means.
Unit and union together.
That's pretty. You saved a lot of time.
Maybe
and then lost it all by explaining it. But yeah, this lady could. This lady could literally be anyone. They never tell you who she, unless I just missed it. But she could be a family friend. She could be like, maybe the dad remarried. Maybe she's like an older sister. She could be anyone. I don't know.
By the end of the episode, I think that was my guess, because they bring up that the kid's mother died.
Yeah.
Sam and Greg. So Sam and Greg from the last episode, they have two additional younger brothers, younger than Greg, and I believe their names are Alex. And I don't think I got the other one, but one of them was like a really little kid.
James and Alex.
So their parents are John, who is the person whose head unfortunately exploded, as we've just discussed, and a mother who seems to have died before.
Yeah.
The Walkening. The Walkening? Do we have a name?
The Walkening.
That's my new name for it, but
For just the zombie apocalypse?
yeah, for when the walkers started.
Oh, I mean, that's a good... I mean, it's just as good as calling them walkers, I think.
Yeah. Well, these people actually call them rotters because they rot.
Dude, was it the people just, like, on the ship that called them that?
I think it was Greg. I think it was Greg specifically said rotters.
Oh, weird, because Sam calls them walkers in this episode.
Well, yeah, I think she realized her one was like a little bit dumber than walkers, but they're both playing on the same field.
Yeah, you know what? I guess we can just play around with whatever we call them.
Yeah, this is the man that makes $2 an hour making fun of the man that makes $1 an hour when you compare walkers and rotters. They are not good names, period.
Yeah.
They real suck. I still hate it. Like, they have every aspect of pop culture except zombie movies. It sucks.
Yeah, I can let it slide just because usually these stories are good enough that I'm like, okay, you call them whatever you want. I like these characters. I like what you're going through. I like your whole deal. But it gets silly as it goes on longer and people start calling them different things.
Yeah. These fluffers are really messing up my groove.
You've seen that Joel Haver video, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That's all I think of anytime they say any word for these guys.
What was one of the ones he used in there? Like freakers. No, freakers is real. Something like that though. Jitterers.
Skippers.
I saw one try to get in a car once, so they're drivers.
I saw one having a conversation with another one, so they're conversationalists.
That would be one thing I would be very interested to see them try to do. Try to have zombies with thoughts and like conversation.
Yeah, and like emotions, and you can like get behind them and root for them.
Yeah.
You know what? I said that as a joke, but I think that would be not a bad idea, having like a zombie that you can like actually kind of be sympathetic for rather than just a mindless force.
Well, I think
I'm sure something like that exists.
That's the plot of Santa Clara Diet, I believe.
Oh.
With what's her name from E.T. and also Drew Barrymore.
Oh.
Yeah, she gets bitten by like an actual zombie, but then she keeps most of her body together and she goes to the doctor and the doctor's like, "Yeah, you're dead." And she's like, "I don't feel dead, but I guess I'm dead.
I feel fine. I guess I'll just keep going."
And she just has to occasionally eat people, and that's the Santa Clara Diet.
Oh, that's too bad. Drew Barrymore was Olive in all of the other reindeer.
I love that for her.
Me too. I love that for me. I love that special.
What's your favorite Drew Barrymore flick?
Is it that one? I guess that. It's just like a 40-minute Christmas special. I can't think of many other things she's been in.
I like her in Being John Malkovich. She's in that. She's good.
Did she play Jillian on Family Guy?
I can't know that. It's possible. I'm trying to picture her voice, and actually, yeah, it sounds very possible.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up.
She was great in 50 First Dates, even though that movie, it's like a ticking time bomb in my head of like every now and then I was like, oh man, I gotta think about 50 First Dates now.
I like that movie. I only saw it once, so I don't really remember it, but I remember liking it.
I like it in abstract, but it's also like, yeah, you're gonna have to convince this woman who does not remember giving birth to her child that she's in love with you every day, and she just has to watch a video. It's so like, if you just let the movie tell you how to feel about it, you'll walk out of it pretty okay.
Right.
But if you think about like any kind of conceptual lengthening of what that movie's all about, it's wild stuff in there.
Yeah, I don't think I would have it in me to stick to it for that long.
Well, it's just in my head all the time. I don't have a choice. Anyway, this why did we talk about Drew Barrymore at all? Santa Clara Diet. Zombies.
Yeah,
yes, got
zombies.
it. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. The rest of this episode is sort of like it was good. There were some good moments, but it felt very just in between.
Standard Walking Dead.
Lot of like getting ready to just bridge the first episode to the last episode.
Yeah. Well, like we said, this is probably the best place to feel that.
In the middle? Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So
Mhm.
it's so weird because I want to say maybe this is building up to like a big finale for Michonne, but I don't know. We just met the rest of the members of this family, and they don't get to do anything. I feel like I agree that there's just not enough here to latch onto with my big teeth.
Well, I think that's probably unavoidable considering the gap in the narrative that they're trying to fill with this series.
Yeah.
So Michonne left the party. Michonne's coming back to the party. I don't know if any of these other characters are going to like come back with her when Michonne comes back because we didn't read it. But like maybe people playing this game are like, oh, that's how she met Sam or Pete. And we just had to know that. But I did not get the impression that any of these characters are necessarily in the show because it feels like stuff could maybe happen to them.
Yeah, we know nothing can happen to Michonne. She has to remain intact and rejoin the group.
Yeah, Michonne doesn't die.
It is a bit of a bummer.
And any character that can die, we know does not matter to the comics.
Yeah, Greg, get out of here.
I kind of feel like that is the best way to play through this game, not knowing what happens to the characters in the comics. Because if for example, Pete shows up later in the comics or Sam shows up later in the comics, we just know, oh, they can't have died. So yeah. the stakes are alleviated. But as far as I know, the only thing I know about Michonne is that Michonne comes back. I don't know about these other characters. Maybe all of them are made up by Telltale. I don't know at all. No idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I can definitely see that being a flaw in this season. Like it kind of kneecaps what they're going for. Like, we don't know, but maybe someone else out there is a big fan of the comics and is just like, oh, yeah, like you said, well, I know nothing can happen to Pete, but here I'm like, oh no, I hope Pete survives. I like Pete enough.
I'll pretend to like Pete for the time being. I'll play along. Assume that I like Pete.
I'll play your game.
Yeah, I'm assuming all of these characters except Michonne can die. Maybe that's not true. I'm wondering if the crew on the boat in the first episode is actually who like stays around, and that's why we had to get away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I do like that boat town.
Well, speaking of that boat town, that's where the episode starts, and I think this episode it's not as important to go like step by step with all the things that happen because I think most of the interesting stuff is packed right into the last like 15 minutes.
Yeah, we hit the broad strokes of it.
Yeah. Well, so at Monroe, remember last episode ended with Zachary getting the gun or not getting the gun and dying. Turns out either way, Zachary's either going to be dead because you shot him or let Sam shoot him, or you stop Sam from shooting him and he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, you probably should take out Randall. That guy sucks. So either way, Zachary's out of the way. Because I wrote down in my notes before I started playing the episode, I assume Zachary is going to fuck my shit. Turns out, shit unfucked. Shit remained unfucked the entire episode.
Zachary is barely a presence.
Yeah, Zachary, he shows up because both of us let him live.
Yeah.
He shows up and he's like, okay, yeah, you can just... I'm going to take the gun, but you guys can go.
Right.
Which felt nice. Felt like a nice, morally preservationist move from Zachary. I appreciated it. He could have been worse.
Thanks, Zachary. You could have been worse.
And there's a lot of times, like, most of the rest of getting out of Monroe is, like, QTEs and just sneaking around while people aren't looking. You get in a fight with Randall and Norma at one point, and both of them lived through it for me, and everyone with me lived through it as well, with Pete and Sam and Michonne. I assume that has to happen.
Yeah, I would assume so.
First big choice is Pete volunteers to like give himself up, and then Sam and Michonne can get away while Pete's distracting them.
Did you let Pete go, or did you stop him?
I tackled him. I didn't let him do that.
Ooh, interesting. I let him do it.
So what happens?
Nothing.
Well, what do you mean though?
he just goes. He just comes out and is like, "All right, I'm coming out. I got my hands up," and then he distracts them long enough for Michonne and Sam to escape.
Okay, so for me, Pete was with us the entire episode.
Interesting. Pete was not with me at all.
That is a huge difference. That's significant.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I had Michonne, Michonne tackled Pete, and Michonne was like, "You idiot! Why? We're all leaving. It's fine. We'll just fight these people. We can fight."
Yeah, I was very on the fence. I will say this episode does have like a couple choices I had to really stop and think about. I let him do it just because, I don't know, it seemed like a good idea. I respected him enough to go with his plan.
Yeah, that was a consideration for
to.
me. It was like, well, it's your choice. I don't want to take the choice away from you, but it just didn't seem necessary for me in my skewed perspective.
Yeah, see, for me, it did seem necessary just because we gotta get out of here, like, right away. We're stuck in here. We need a distraction, but I guess not, because he can just go with you.
So, if you choose to tackle Pete and have him go with you, you do get in a lot of fights where a couple people might be, like, mortally wounded. You don't see anyone explicitly die, but there's one person who's, as soon as you get in a boat with Michonne, Pete, and Sam, or Michonne and just Sam at that point, someone puts a gun to you and it's like, hey, you gotta get out of my boat. You stole our goods and now you're stealing a boat? And then Pete, like, throws a thing at her, and then she falls into the water, and Michonne, like, gets her across the chest with the knife a little bit. And it seemed like, oh, yeah, she's gonna be pretty hurt. I don't think killed, but like she will be hurt from that. And then they go, and Pete is remarking on that as they leave in the boat, saying like, all those people didn't have to get hurt. I could have just turned myself in. And Michonne says, if you let her, Michonne can say something to the effect of like, yeah, but then you'd probably be dead, idiot. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes,
they kidnapped us. I'm not sympathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I had the same deal. I had the lady like hold me at gunpoint.
Oh, you had that. Okay.
Yeah, but Pete was not there to stop her. What happened? It's not coming to me. I don't know why I don't remember what happened. I think like there was another. So there was another flare gun. I think Michonne grabbed it and fired it, and that knocked her into the water.
The firing of the flare gun like startled her?
Yeah, and it caught the shed they were hiding in on fire, and then you just look back and see like a bunch of the boats on fire.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That didn't happen for me.
Ooh.
There was a flare shot in the air as Pete, Sam, and Michonne got to the shore. It was like shot in the air from Monroe, and it looked like they were signaling something.
Yeah, that happened too. They got a lot of flare guns.
Yeah, it's a big flare gun episode for all those flare heads out there.
Yup, it's the flare gun episode.
And I wrote in my notes, the flare gun that just went off is probably significant, but I don't know. Unless it was just foreshadowing the guy that would eat the flare. But like, why do that? Why foreshadow that?
Yeah, that's a strange. It's strange enough to have that. It would be very strange to be like, keep this flare in mind.
Yeah, the thing with kidnapping is, if someone kidnaps you, I think you can like hit them really hard, and that's fine in the eyes of the Lord.
I think so too. I think if you're being kidnapped by someone, it's fine.
If you're held against your will for a crime you did not commit by like someone who's not an authority that you respect, just start swinging.
Yeah, just hit him.
Start blasting.
It's not that hard.
I give you permission. It's on me to do that for you.
Mitchell, you're gonna love this, but Drew Barrymore was the voice of Jillian in Family Guy.
Love it. You've been focusing on that for the last few minutes?
I've just been kind of holding it down until it seemed relevant.
It did not seem relevant. But thank you. Now I can rest easy.
You're welcome.
So as you're going through, now that I think about it, I guess Pete didn't do a whole lot in the middle section of the episode, so I can see that working out. As you're climbing, you eventually get led to a fallen radio tower that you need to climb up the scaffolding of to get to Sam's house faster.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam, Pete, and Michonne do it. At one point, Sam gets shot because Randall and two of his goons, one of which would later eat the flare, start shooting at you. One of them hits Sam in the shoulder.
Classic Randall and his gang.
Pretty sure that has to happen. The bullet hitting Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to get out of that.
No, that seems like a major story moment.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking back, yeah, Pete was just like climbing the other side of the tower, not getting involved. So that...
Don't mind me, guys.
I should have been thinking about that as that was happening. Like, oh, this didn't need to happen.
Don't worry, I'll just pull a Nick and be over here.
And then eventually you get led to Sam's house, where John, Sam's father, comes out and greets you and is very skeptical of you at first. And then there's the blonde woman who we were unable to place the role of. She also like held you at gunpoint at first. And you have the job of removing the bullet from Sam, sterilizing the wound, and cauterizing the scar. And it's all a bunch of gross ways to do it by just, pouring vodka in there and then using a fire poker to cauterize the wound.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good primitive medical stuff going on there. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean it works. It's a situation like in the first episode of season 2 where it's very gruesome, but I mean like I guess realistic enough. I don't know what I would do in a situation like this. The tools are there.
Yeah, and I kind of get the idea that the reason that it needs to be this extreme and this like chaotic in trying to cure the wound is because the authority figures here, that the dad and the whoever girl, are initially very skeptical of you, and I think the story is just like not interested in telling that kind of story right now. So it's like a way for you to get in their trust very fast.
Yeah.
You cure the wound, so you're just done. They're judgy at first, and I think they realized, oh, we did this like 4 times in the last 2 seasons of The Walking Dead. We don't need to have this exact dynamic right now.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Let's just have them trust you. Let's skip that part.
They can see you're trying to help her.
Yeah. Then there's another... Oh, I forgot about this until right now, because I played the episode a few days ago. After that part, Michonne falls into sort of a trance and has another like psychic sort of daydream.
Yeah.
About her kids. I didn't get much out of it.
No, not really. I still thought it was kind of neat.
Sure, yeah. It was like a tonal, interesting thing. I didn't find out anything new about her kids through this, though. Not really.
I think the one thing you can get out of it, I think it sounded like they were with someone else when it happened. Like, you get a call from someone named Donna who's saying she called someone else whose name I forget, but...
Well, you have the choice, right, of either picking up the ringing phone or running out into the hallway where you think they might have been.
Right. What did you do?
I also answered the phone and talked to Donna.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it sounded like she had called someone else who had the girls with him. I don't know if it was like Michonne's husband or what, because...
Yeah, I don't know if they're together, but it was their father.
Yeah. So... you do get some more hints at what happened. And it still doesn't tell you what happened, but enough to dangle that carrot in front of your face.
You do get the daughters' names, which are Colette and Elodie. They really didn't skimp on giving them powerful, like, brain space occupying names.
Yeah.
You really
memorable.
You can't forget Colette and Elodie.
Colette and Elodie.
Elodie is almost Melody.
That's true. It's like just off enough so you remember it.
Yeah, that Melody's a name. Elodie? Yeah. Sure. Maybe I'm
Lodi?
Maybe I'm displaying my naivete, and Elodie is actually a very common name. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I know Colette's probably like a common-ish sort of name.
Yeah, I've heard it before. I have heard Elodie before.
Oh.
Yeah, in the show OKKO.
In my freshman year of high school, I dated a girl for 1 week named Melody. And
how did that go? It was a week, you said?
Bad.
Oh.
It went very poorly. She soon after that dated one of my good friends, and I was like, dude, I guess
sucks.
I guess you gotta. And now we're still friends, but like I think we haven't talked about that in probably how old was I? 13, 14, 15 years, I guess.
Wow, that's quite a situation.
Yeah.
And you just remembered it just now.
Well, it's definitely my closest word association with, like, if anyone wants to say the name Melody, I'm like, oh no, I got a thing. I've definitely got something back. I can think about if you want me to get lost in reminiscence.
Stand back, because I got a story.
Yeah, so John then takes Michonne on a little walk, and for me, Pete was yelling to John of like, hey, you got to get out of here fast, and John sort of looked like he was taking it to heart, but considering how soon after this that John dies, again, it doesn't really matter that Pete was there, making the narrative flow regardless of what you did. But John starts talking to Michonne, and he asks her if she's got kids. And I wanted to just like this series does this a lot of like they're only gonna let you tell some of the truth. Because you can either say no or 2 kids, and the truth is I had 2 kids but don't now.
Yeah.
But it just won't let you say it. It just won't let you get there. It's an interesting like force of a choice where you just can't be the person you would be. All of the choices are still like in the style of this character Michonne, who's got her own personality, but you can just direct what aspect of her personality comes out rather than actually making choices for her.
I like that. It makes her stay a character rather than just a blank slate you're projecting yourself into, I guess.
I guess I would say that if it weren't for the fact that Clementine and Lee are that, and they're still very good characters. They're still very great characters, better than Michonne, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah. So then Randall and his guys show up, shoot John in the face, the flare gun incident. Then we get Randall and we corner him in the garage. No one besides John has to die from the good guy side. And they take his hands. They take Randall's hands and press them into this vice. Like a tool.
I think he
table.
Deserves it. Yeah,
it looked painful, but also not like completely handbreakingly painful.
Yeah. So they exercised restraint, and he probably deserves a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. So they start talking to Randall for a while, trying to maybe get some information. They don't get a lot of information.
Yeah, he's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah, he's really not understanding the power dynamic here. We've got him all viced up, and he's like, "Well, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't." Not making a very good argument to like protect him in any way.
Yeah, really. It's like, okay, well, that makes you a lot more expendable.
Yeah. Well, if I'm damned if I do and I am damned if I don't, then I should probably do what I want to, which is, like, not going to be good for you. Not going to be very healthy on your end.
Yeah. So he's goading you on, and you have a choice in whether or not to make him shut up forever.
Well,
As in kill him.
before that, he gets like a
Oh.
radio call. I think this is kind of important.
Right. I forgot.
He gets a radio call from Norma, his sister, who is the actual leader of the community, and you have a choice of how you handle this in a few different like choice moments. You can either choose to just not answer it. You can talk on the radio, or you can have Randall talk on the radio. And I had Randall talk on the radio.
I also had Randall talk on the radio.
Yeah, I think that's the move, right? Because if you answer it, then you know that you've got, or that you know that Norma knows you've got Randall in a bad position.
Yeah.
And
you've fucked yourself, basically.
yeah, and if you don't answer it, then they're going to go looking for Randall. So you have to have Randall say he's fine, and Randall kind of gives the impression like, yeah, you've got me right where you want me. So how could I possibly refuse? I have to do what you say. And
yeah, he says, I'm not looking to get any more broken fingers.
And then there's a very cool mechanic where you hold the button down on the radio by holding a button down on the controller, and you'll just keep the broadcast going to Norma as long as you want. Like you can at any moment take the finger off the radio.
So how long did you go?
So I had it, I think Norma starts the conversation and says, Randall, how are you? Come in, Randall. And then Randall says, hi, Norma, it's me. I'm okay. And then Norma says, where are you? And then I took my finger off the button. So I really only got like one sentence of Randall saying he's okay, and it's clearly him and it's his voice. But then I stopped.
I went a little farther. I had him tell her that he made it to the mainland and got lost in the woods. But then he started talking about the path to where they are, and that's when I took it off.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I assumed would happen. Like he would give away too much, and I was hoping like Randall only needs to say he's fine in order for like the panic to go off. But when after he says that, Norma asks another question, and then like it's done. He's not answering anymore, and she goes, Randall, come in, Randall. And it sounds like she's still going to panic no matter what. So it didn't quite do what I wanted it to do, but I still liked that a lot as a interesting mechanic.
I did too. I liked that mechanic a lot. I do wish they did a little more with it. Like maybe they let you like cut him off and then let you bring it back to him and see what he'll say. Like be like, look, don't tell her where this house is, and then you could bring it back. So I thought it was a good mechanic, but I wish they did a little more with it.
Yeah, this makes me very curious about how... I don't often think about this in Telltale games because so many of them are done within the same format. But I'm really interested in how this is programmed. Like how... maybe it's just a sequence, and then if you get to a certain part of the sequence, they put a flag of, okay, he said this, so we turn that Boolean from false to true, and then you can read those Booleans later. That would be... I would be interested to see how that works under the hood.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So then after all that, Randall says a bunch of shit about Michonne's kids and just is a rude guy all around, not taking his stature of kidnapped victim very seriously at all.
Yeah.
And for me, the choice between killing him and not killing him was represented by advice I received from Pete and Sam.
Ooh.
Because Sam, being that Greg and her father are now dead, Sam's like, yeah, absolutely kill this guy. If you don't, I will.
Understandable. Yeah, she said that for me as well.
And then Pete is like, dude, what are you doing? If we kill this guy, we're going to be on Norma's shit list forever. She won't stop.
Yeah.
And then they both walk out of the room. And then I definitely shot him right in the face immediately. I did it immediately.
So I did not shoot him, even though I wanted to.
Had a feeling.
And I think the difference is Pete was not with me. I feel like if I killed Randall, they would just straight up kill Pete. I feel.
Yeah.
I think about how Carver, like when we killed one of his guys, he killed shit, I don't remember his name. Walter, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just straight up kills Walter. I think what's going to stop them from doing exactly that? Even though Randall is extremely dangerous to keep around, he's saying like he's just going to kill everyone, including the kids. And that's not cool, but I feel like, yeah. If we had killed him, they just would have straight up killed Pete. And I feel like we were at least in a position where we have leverage with him alive.
Yeah, with Randall here, I could imagine this being a harder decision for me if he was saying things like, look, you've clearly got me at a disadvantage. Let's haggle here. I can tell them to, if I didn't have Pete, let them go. Or I can tell them to give up the search and just let you go. You clearly don't have the goods here. If you let me go and give me like one can of food, I'll just walk away and it'll be fine. If he said that, even though I might not believe him, that'd be like a reason for me. But he just kept going on about like, as soon as I get out of here, I'm killing all these kids. Like, okay, well then I won't let you do that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That seems very strange for you to argue in that way.
Yeah, I did have to pause it and really think about it since, yeah, I definitely want this guy dead. I feel like if it weren't a situation where I was missing someone, like they had one of my people, then I would have just gone for it. Like, this is a dangerous guy to have here.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
And another thing that went through my head was it's not a matter of morality because Michonne just straight up killed his other two guys who probably were not nearly as bad.
Yeah, this is an interesting trope in video games and like genre fiction in general, like this, where you kill a bunch of goons and it's fine, and then leading up to the main guy, and then all of a sudden, like, good guys don't kill main bad guys. for some reason, it's suddenly more important to like not pull the trigger because this guy has dialogue.
Yeah, like Randall is straight up saying like, oh, I can tell you like to kill, and he's kind of goading you on, and it feels like what they're going for is having Michonne be like, no, I'm not like you, I'm not gonna stoop to your level, when she just annihilated two people.
Yeah, well, the only reason I was thinking that I shouldn't do this maybe is because I have Pete, actually, and I think he's gonna yell at me. He's more of a pacifist. He's a really nice guy. He wouldn't do this.
Right, you don't want to get on Pete's bad side.
Yeah, he's gonna make me feel sad, and in a 3-episode arc, that might be like the most consequences I could withstand. Because if all these characters die, I'm like, well, that was 3 episodes. I'll move on to the next Telltale game. Basically,
yeah. If I had Pete with me, I would have just straight up killed Randall. Because it's like, who cares? What, like, are they gonna come for me? Fine, we have his rifle. We have a lot of people. But just the fact that they had Pete made me be like, this guy is better as a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Like, probably still not a good choice to make because, like, what's gonna happen when you give him up? Are they just gonna leave? No, probably not. We have a whole 3rd episode to do.
Yeah, because I felt like mostly kind of cool about how I handled the radio situation. I didn't give away anything, and I did let Norma know that Randall was okay in that moment. I just felt good about it in general. I felt like nothing he said has been convincing at all to keep him alive. In fact, he seems almost like he wants to die. Like he's playing some 4D chess and doesn't recognize the 2D chess mate right in front of him.
Yeah, he's trying to use reverse psychology in a way where you're like, no, I'll just kill you.
Yeah, it's like he's overthought a debate team debate too much, and and like the opposite side says, so in summary, slavery was morally wrong, and then he starts saying, well, slavery might be morally wrong, and then loses because he thought through it too many times in his head and he did it wrong.
Yeah, Randall's not great at this. But I didn't kill him. I guess it worked. Well, no, that specifically didn't work. What he had to say had no bearing on whether or not he lived or died. It was just purely because of Pete. But even then, I don't know if I stand by my choice, because this guy is a dangerous maniac.
Well, I'm glad that you have the choices you have, regardless of whether I agree with them or not, because not having Pete and having Randall alive is very different from the way my episode ended. So we're gonna get some different endings in this season, probably.
Yeah, I wonder if, since this isn't tied into the Clementine story. Well, no, I was gonna say maybe they're allowed to go further and wilder with the endings, but it's still Michonne. She has to live.
Yeah, I think probably it would be too soon for these characters to show up, if Telltale wanted them to, in season 3, but maybe they like make a cameo or something in season 4 if they can read the save data. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen makes it seem like Michonne is very isolated and very separate, but yeah,
maybe. Same. I would be very surprised if any of this carried over going forward.
I think that's part of the reason that maybe I haven't been as invested in like making absolutely sure. I'm happy with where my decisions have led me, but being absolutely sure what I'm doing is right all the time in Michonne versus one of the previous seasons, just because I know it's like, okay, 3 seasons and then I'm out. I'm don't
out of here.
I don't see it getting me as emotionally invested, or sorry, 3 episodes, not 3 seasons. 3 episodes and then I'm out, because I can't imagine it getting me as emotionally invested as what happened at the end of season 1 or season 2.
Yeah.
I just
totally
can't believe
agreed.
it would happen.
There's just no time for it. Like, and like I said earlier about the people in this house, like, this episode ends and you barely know any of them. Like, you have a conversation with the blonde lady, but her role is still unknown.
We don't know. She might have her name, but we said the blonde lady a lot of times in this episode.
The dad just immediately has a bullet go in his face.
Yeah. Yup.
You get like maybe 1 or 2 minutes talking with him, and then he's out of there. And then the kids are traumatized by the loss of their brother and all this shit going on. So I guess I don't expect them to be like massive players right away, but I also don't see me really getting to know anyone that's left.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of comparisons here to 500 Days that you could make, because those weren't even 3 episodes. Those were each a fifth of 1 episode. Very small amount of time. But those things within their own little scope of story did have emotional resonance, where I think it has some. It's not like completely soulless or anything, but it's definitely struggling to keep me as invested as either the 500 Day stories or anything in the main seasons.
Yeah, I think the thing about 500 Days, I know when we played it, it was still kind of a mixed bag. Like, you can't be super worried about all these people, but
sure, yeah.
I could respect I thought what it was doing was very interesting, just showing like little pockets of this world. I think it did a better job of conveying that, look, you're not going to be with these characters for a long time, but they still have like real stories that are happening to them. And I guess this one does too, but like, these other characters are just like such non-players, and it doesn't feel like we're already going into the last episode, and I feel like they're just, maybe there will be, but I just feel like there won't be time to give them the spotlight at all.
Yeah, I think it's like the length of this season is long enough to give it its own set of expectations, but the content of it is small enough to not reach those expectations, because it probably is of the emotional weight of 500 Days, but you just don't expect much from those little vignettes in 500 Days. So they were all, or at least most of them, 3 out of 5 or so, were pretty satisfying little bits. I think about the Bonnie story in 500 Days a lot, of just following, or not following anyone, but like you go out into the cornfield and you have to just swing at someone you can't see, and then it was the woman who didn't, that you accidentally killed her with the thingy, whatever it was. That was heart-wrenching. That was a real bummer. I was sad playing it, and I had an emotion. And in this case, maybe it's just because I've seen so much of The Walking Dead now that I kind of know, like, oh yeah, I'll feel sad. I'll get there. And I'll just I'll interpret that more academically than actually emotionally.
Right. Yeah, that could be it. I feel like maybe it is just the expectation. Maybe since this is like, there's a focus here still. We're still focusing on like a character and the characters around her. And it feels more like an actual season story, even if it's not. When you go into 500 Days, you kind of know what to expect.
Right.
So I think the fact that you're able to get anything out of those very short stories is more impressive than what they're giving the characters here.
I totally agree. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that you said it well.
Thank you. I tried. I practiced it for hours.
So, yeah, I think we just go into our segments. I think we're done.
I think so. There was really not a whole lot to talk about this episode.
Yeah, it seems premature, but it just isn't that long. We've talked for, at this point, about the same amount of time as it took to play through it, so.
Yeah. Maybe it'll have like a big grand finale.
So I looked on How Long to Beat, and they actually do have them set up for, like, per episode. Episode 1, it had like at 2 hours, and then episodes 2 and 3 were each 1 hour.
Jeez, 1 hour for the third episode? That's
not
enough
about
time.
As much time as we had for this episode and the third episode.
Oh, jeez.
It's about what they do with it more than anything, but yeah, I think I agree. It's not necessarily a great sign. I haven't been hating what I've seen so far. It's just
no, it's been fine. I think it's just more when I'm thinking, like when I was playing it, I didn't have these problems. When I was playing it, I was just like, all right, let's see where this goes. It's only in retrospect thinking about it where I'm like, oh, well, these characters didn't really do anything, and I don't think there's going to be time for them to do anything.
Yeah. In a let's see where this goes style story, you only really know how you feel about it once you've seen where it went.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, maybe it'll be an awesome hour, like just a great 1 hour conclusion.
Yeah, maybe there'll be a lot of fireworks.
Ooh, yeah, more flare faces.
Yeah, but like they're like good flares with like that make like shapes in the air.
Yeah, but it's still in his mouth.
Yeah, he just kind of becomes known for it.
Mm-hmm. It's like a party trick.
It's like there's a party in his mouth and everyone's invited.
What's your golden moment?
Golden moment was I actually really liked when you were talking on the walkie-talkie, making Randall talk to his sister, Norma. Because even though it wasn't that long and I wish they went further with it, I just thought it was a cool little moment that you were given that freedom. So I don't think that's something we've seen in a Telltale game up until now.
Yeah. It's some new stuff. It is a cool moment. I'll skip ahead a little bit and say that how to handle that was my choice cut. So we both had it, but for different categories. That might be a first.
No, I feel like we've done that before. We have to have at some point.
Yeah, 80-something episodes. We almost definitely have. We've done everything, actually. We've done all the different things you can do.
That's true. No more surprises from here on out, everybody. You heard it here first.
So my golden moment is very related to that. I just think putting Randall's hands in the vice is like a really powerful. When I saw that, I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's a really powerful vice.
Yeah, very, very. Is vice the word for that? Is that a vice? Like, it's a thing on a tool
Yeah.
table that you spin one end and it like it clamps down.
Yeah, you want to know how I know that?
Hmm.
The Sam and Max cartoon.
There's a vice in there that they use like that?
Yeah, there's like a little mini skit. It's like a 2-minute long short between episodes where they use Dad's vice to crush something.
Cool.
Yeah.
I always was like really scared of those as a kid because I had this like fear. What if I put my own head in it and squish it?
What if I make the choice to put my head in this vice?
Yeah, and my dad was
What
like,
then?
my dad, I told this to my dad once, and I remember him going like, "Oh, I've just not done that, so it's been great." And
that is good advice.
Yeah, and I had to be like, okay, I guess I just also won't.
Okay, if you're sure about this, Dad.
So, I went into my choice cut already. So, what's your choice cut?
Whether or not to kill Randall, just because
Sure, yeah.
there's weight to both sides. I was just agonizing over which one to pick, because they really do make you want to kill Randall, but yeah, I feel like it would have been easier for you just because Pete was there, but for me, I had an incentive to keep him alive.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Out of the 2 things for our golden moments and the 2 things for our choice cuts, all 4 of them are about this one scene with Randall in the garage. And guess what?
What?
My
Are we
weekly
going
guy?
into the weekly guy?
My weekly guy is Randall.
Hey, Mitchell, you're not going to believe this.
Is it really? Okay.
My weekly guy was Randall, but to be perfectly fair, I feel like he's one of the only characters who really makes a big impression in this episode.
Yeah, it could have been Sam as the alternative there. I didn't really get much from Michonne herself. Didn't really get much from Pete.
Yeah, well, even Sam, I feel like she was good in this episode. I didn't like dislike her, but she's really just like telling you stuff. She doesn't really do anything. Like you're trying to help her and get the bullet out of her.
Yeah.
So like you have that great scene where you're trying to save her and fix her up, but she doesn't do anything there. She just lets you do it.
Yeah, and I thought about putting Blonde Lady, but like I can't just put the word. If I know her as Blonde Lady, she can't win.
Yeah. Randall, meanwhile, is like he is the biggest dick in the universe. I might say he's like the worst person in a Walking Dead game. Or not.
Yeah.
Maybe even just Telltale in general. He's horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some Sam and Max villains I'm not thinking of right now who are like just evil.
Yeah, like cartoonishly evil.
Yeah, but Randall's basically as close
to...
you can get to that while still somewhat grounded.
Yeah, he talks about smashing the brains of children in.
Yeah, and Carver in season 2, like he's the kind of guy that would do that, but he's also like self-assured in his own way of I'm doing this for something I believe in, and he's deluded. He's still evil. He's wrong for doing that. But like you do get the sense that he's trying to in his mind go to something good. Randall is just like, I like it when I shoot him. I like it when it happens like that. I'm a crazy
man.
I killed all those people in the boat because they were on a boat wrong.
And I would kill more people, and it'll be really fun.
Yeah, and like, we're deciding whether or not to kill him, and he's like, well, I might kill those kids if I get out of here. Just cuz.
I just cuz I'm bored. I got nothing else going on. And boy, that would have been like perfect reason to kill him.
Yeah.
And it's weird to put him in Weekly Guy, but he really is like the one person who does anything that stands out.
Yeah, like on the one hand, it feels like we're almost celebrating him not being written very naturally. But on the other, it's just like he's just this force of nature that you keep going like, damn, Randall. you really feel certain ways that is it's hard for us to get behind.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they just go all out with this guy. Like, I do think it might be a little too much. It might be a little over the top and not believable.
Yeah.
especially for Walking Dead, which up to this episode I felt has been pretty good about being grounded. This episode goes nutso. It goes crazy.
He goes insano mode a little bit.
It goes insanio style, yeah. But because of that, like, how can you just not have him be the weekly guy compared to everyone else?
Yeah, I think your last one was Michonne herself. Was that mine? What was it?
No, Michonne was mine. Yours was it Norma? Or was it Zachary?
It was Zachary. I think I gave it to Zachary.
Okay. Yeah, because you could really buy his fear.
Mm-hmm. In retrospect, maybe Michonne should have gotten first place for me too last episode, but I was still at the point where, like, I don't know what her personality is, because my personality has been, or her personality has been given to me in choices that are very, like, polar. So I was choosing things for her and trying to build up a personality, but, like, she's not blank slate in any way. She has a pre-established thing, so I was rubbing against that a lot, but now I feel like I get it more. Although I'm still sort of unable to put it to words. I don't really know what I think of Michonne. I just feel like I have a better understanding of what the writers are trying to do with her.
It's hard to describe her, but you also kind of get her.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I feel like I would see a choice for her later on and know if that feels right or wrong for her.
Agreed.
So that's been the episode.
Yeah, it's been a really strange one in retrospect.
What's the next episode?
The next episode is episode 3.
True. Yeah. Everyone get ready for The Walking Dead Michonne episode 3, where we will finish off Telltale's mini-series into the main canon of The Walking Dead storyline. I'm excited to finish it up.
Yeah, I'm even though I can't see everything getting the attention it needs, I am curious to see exactly where it goes.
So I believe the very next series that we do after Michonne is a long-awaited, interesting kind of game. I think we're headed into Minecraft Story Mode, Season 1.
Yeah, I'm interested to do this because, like, at least with Walking Dead or Sam and Max or something, you get the gist of, like, what the tone is, what the characters are. Minecraft is not that. So seeing what they do with that, it could go anywhere.
Well, I have seen some of it. I played half of the first episode via Netflix when Netflix had their own sort of, like, cooled down version of the game that was just the choices. And kind of if you've seen Bandersnatch on Netflix, they do the same thing where it's just like a choose your own adventure kind of short film, or long form film.
That's a fun name, Bandersnatch.
Yeah, it's from the Lewis Carroll poem of the Jabberwocky. And it sort of played like that. I didn't finish the episode, but from what I saw, it was very child oriented.
Interesting.
Yeah, they brought up in an interview at one point that most of the stuff they'd been doing is fairly mature, but like the interviewer asked them, but then they said, well, you know, back in our history, we've had a lot of child-oriented things like Sam and Max and Strong Bad's Cool Game and stuff like that. But that always struck me as like a weird comparison.
Yeah, I don't really consider either of those, like... I guess a kid could play them, but I never considered them, like, games for kids.
Yeah, to be fair, I was definitely interested in them as a kid. But they are, like... I don't even know... They're not inappropriate, but it's... they're, like, destructivist of child's entertainment, you know?
Yeah.
They don't... They're aware of being children's entertainment in a way that is very meta at times. So Sam and Max will beat people up and use guns to intimidate. And Strong Bad, I guess, says crap a lot. It's not as strong as in Strong Bad as it is in Sam and Max.
Yeah, I would probably consider Strong Bad like the closest thing to something that like a kid could enjoy.
Well, Bone, I think, is Bone. Bone's probably like right on the
True,
thing.
true.
Yeah, but Minecraft really is, from what I played, like a very family level PG or even lower maybe kind of story.
That'll be interesting since like it feels like after they switched to the Walking Dead style games, it's like purely mature rated games and series.
Yeah, it's like a fairly mature take on Batman. I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be very M-rated, but it's going to be, the
It's
Guardians of the
T-rated.
Galaxy are much more aggressive in their way of solving problems than like the Avengers.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it like some super kid friendly.
Yeah, like a lot of them skirt the line of being, oh no, kids would like this, but also like jokes are sometimes that guys get shot straight in the face. and I guess
Yeah.
that's like a rude joke to tell a kid, probably.
They probably wouldn't get it.
Yeah, they wouldn't get the nuance behind it.
It's subtlety, don't you understand?
Violence is one of the funniest humors I've found.
I guess that's true when someone like falls down and gets hurt.
Whew. Love it every time.
I laugh and laugh.
So, until next time, have a great summer.
Have a great summer.
Hags.